welcome back to another episode of Net Talk. We know you missed us because we were absent
for a week.
That might come up in my shame for a contributing reason, which we'll pin it on that, but I'm not sure if we could actually blame that on why we didn't record.
No, we can.
Yeah. That was the only reason why we didn't record.
Yeah, well, that's Alex. I'm Mitch. And Sketch is here again. Welcome back, Sketch.
G'day.
Because today we're doing a bit of a deep dive into the CEV because they've now got their quarterfinals set. This is when the games become really what you probably want to see, talking to other people as well. Coming from Australia, this is now when people seem to be interested because there's just a bit too much going on when it was pool play and a bit too much variation. But
now it's like the pointy end of the season. And Sketch, you were fortunate enough to be at the game we're going to talk about.
Yeah. One of the benefits of being in Europe is I get to go to games which are not just the games that I'm coaching in.
yeah.
I'm actually really jealous because I watched the game and the highlights and that looked, wow, we'll get into it when we talk about it, but it was a very energetic series overall.
Yeah. Because they have a good structure for the finals. I actually really like it for CEV, the system of how they decide winners. Before that, Slay and Shames of the week.
I already know it, but I'm hoping people are curious as to what is going on in your life.
I'm gonna forego the Slay completely. All right, no Slay for Alex this week because his shame is too shameful.
Yeah. All right, go on.
My car, my young 31-year-old Nissan Pulsar, 31 years young, was taken too soon. Okay.
Wait. I'm going to cut you off. I reckon like third episode of this show, we also had a shame for that car because you thought it almost died. It was resurrected. 10 episodes later, here we are.
I don't remember the reason for why I thought it almost. Oh, it's
Is it
battery.
battery?
It was its battery.
Yeah,
it was its battery. It needed a new battery last time. This time it needs a little bit more tender loving care. So it's been handed off to an insurance company because it got broken into, parked on the street outside my house. CCTV cameras didn't catch it, unfortunately. Didn't trigger on the motion of the street. So they broke into the driver's side door using a pair of scissors.
They were desperate.
Really, really destroyed the driver's side door lock and then tried to hotwire it. And according to the tow truck driver, these guys have no idea how to hotwire a car. This could have been done so much easier. So they did a little bit.
They watched a couple of videos and thought, I can do that.
The old TikTok search, that's easy enough.
They don't make them like they used to, okay? They've got, I'll say that it had a little extra protection on it. The keys are a little sticky sometimes, but but this isn't how it should have gone. All right?
I'm going to play really sad music over this whole segment.
That's not how that car should have gone. But maybe it's not gone.
Surely it's gone. It's
maybe.
time.
It was in pristine condition for 31.
I'm going to put a picture up. Do you have,
I took a...
Yeah, you took a photo shoot, didn't you?
I took a in memoriam photo shoot.
Yeah, Laura told me and I was like, I cannot wait to see these on the Instagram.
Yeah, of the doing the Kendrick Lamar GNX album cover pose next to the car, just because I thought it would be funny, and I was going to do maybe it'll come out. But if it's resurrected, maybe those photos will be restricted to the Discord.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
So that's why we couldn't record because that whole thing happened, and we missed the training because of that as well.
You missed the training because
you couldn't pick me up.
I don't pick you up normally.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get in that car.
True.
It was an emotional moment.
Yeah,
you needed some support.
Yeah.
We needed an hour or two to grieve.
Yeah.
Well, you did. I was thankful. Sketch, what's your slay and shame this week?
My slay would be we played 3 really good games in a row.
Nice.
Against Berlin and Friedrichshafen and Düren. And the shame is that we only ended up with 1 point as a result. We played some really, really good volleyball against 3 really good teams. And we couldn't find that last little bit to get us over the line, but playing volleyball that is much better than our budget would suggest we can play.
Yeah. That's a good outlook on it. Those are some three top of the ladder sort of teams other than Lüneburg?
Yep.
Yeah.
An undefeated team in the German league.
Yeah.
Not undefeated anywhere else. Or are they still undefeated, actually?
No, they
In
lost.
Germany, yeah.
Berlin in Germany.
In their local league, they are. Yeah. All right. My sleigh is...
Oh, well, any shame? You got something to shame,
That
Liam?
was his shame.
That was
Only 1 point.
Oh, the shame.
We deserve more.
I'd be happy with one.
Who'd you got a 5 with? Durham?
Friedrichshafen.
Okay.
26-24 in the 5th.
Oh, that is the distance proper.
It was a good one.
Yeah, we spoke about this off air, but I want to throw up the sketch. We'll have to do it. Throw up the footage of you celebrating that guy serving at the opposite on Berlin.
Lovis Homburger. Remember the name.
Yeah.
He didn't catch it clean. I'll say that.
Oh nein! Oh. Und Solbeck ist wirklich sehr unzufrieden mit Daniel Valescha, weil den auch noch Gesicht kassiert. Das war wirklich ein so wilder Aufschlag. Und Daniel Valescha kommt einfach nicht mehr weg und Solbeck fällt ihn noch ab. Er springt ja auch in den...
My favourite part was watching the Berlin coach explode a little bit on that.
Yeah.
You could see the inner rage. I was like, fair enough. Yeah. My sleigh, my women team is doing very, very well this early in the season. I'm very happy with how they're going. My shame. Remember how I said in Haley's episode that like my body's feeling really good? I haven't had knee pain or shoulder pain in years.
Yeah,
I've had both knee and shoulder pain in the last 2 weeks.
Remember how in that episode I said I'm still physically 16 and in my prime, and I have felt really good.
Yeah, you've been really good.
I've felt really good.
We've reversed roles, quite literally. I'm sore all the time and you're pristine.
Did you Freaky Friday each other?
Yeah, it's just... We need to like jinx it again so we go back to normal.
Although I actually wasn't feeling too hot this morning. I woke up to watch the CEV game that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
At 5:30 in the morning our time. Germany's not a great time zone difference for us.
No, it's really not.
But woke up and had a little hit of volleyball at 7 a.m.
You guys are nuts for doing that.
Yeah. It probably wasn't good for the body. Getting a few extra swings into the arm. I was doing some serving. Working on the jump toppy because I've been insulted by people saying that my float is faster than my toppy.
Sketch, believe me, it actually is. I'm telling you, his toppy is so slow.
It's got some good curve.
I thought you were going to say his float serve is so fast.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have said that. Maybe I should have said that.
The toppy's got some good swing on it, all right?
I will say...
Hey, our Libro told me at this 7 a.m. session that I got a fair few that had some good curve on them, but my float is definitely still my...
Yeah, but at 7 in the morning, pretty much everything's got too much movement on it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Our teammate messaged our group chat, mind you, all adults, all working, like, you know, we don't get paid anything. And it was like 7 a.m. session, and I think everyone was a bit like, love that for you, but not for me. And then you were like, yeah, I'm not going to go to that. And then you were like, I'm actually going to go to that.
Yeah. I reacted to the message and he said, you have to come now. And I went,
Yeah.
I could do it. We're going to skip general league updates. I think anything happening in Victoria or Australia, not really.
No, everyone's in preseason mode.
Yeah. But in terms of CEV, the Champions League, that's kind of the major thing going on that we want to talk about. It's going into quarterfinals. Which is really good.
Let's get into the game we're going to talk about.
Yeah. We watched the playoff, so the round before quarterfinals. We watched SVG Lüneburg versus Berlin Recycling.
Yeah.
I believe in the first, so the CEV works that it's a best of 2 series essentially. I guess it's like, or first to 2, and then a golden set if you come out even after the 2 games.
Yeah. Sketch, is that That's correct, right? And it's you have to be
Home
relatively
and away.
Maybe poorly explained.
Yeah. Is it even set ratio? So like you can let's say you win 3-1.
Yeah.
You have to lose 3-1?
Basically, it's first to 5 sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if you win in 5 in the first one, you just need to get to a position where the other team can't get ahead of you in the second one.
Yeah.
So
if you won 3-1, you only need
Yes.
to get to a 5th set in the second matchup to win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I have in the
3-0.
past seen a situation where it's 3-0 and then they win 2 sets in the next and then the third set's essentially. I feel like I've seen that in the
doesn't matter.
past.
It
Yeah.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like I've coached in Champions League games as an assistant, but Challenge Cup and CV Cup games, and it's you win the first one and you have the mentality of let's get 2 sets and then let's get the starters some rest and get the other guys in some live reps.
Yeah. Do you like that format? I think it's not heard of in Australia, but when I first heard of it, I was like, I hate it, and then I grew to
I
like it.
immediately thought that would work amazingly for AVL to go back to the doubleheader weekends.
Yeah.
And then for finals, you can do a semi-final weekend and then a gold medal weekend.
True. What do you think, Sketch?
I think there's some advantage to it in that you get a second chance. If you lose the first one on the road, you get to have a home game, and there is an advantage to playing at home with the extra travel involved.
Yeah.
I don't always love that. Yeah, you can wrap it up in the second set of game 2, and you're just killing time to get to a result. Not great for fans is probably the reason.
Yeah.
Like they feel maybe a little bit obliged to stick around till the end, even though it's not really a live game anymore. But as a coach, it gives you a couple more sets with some guys to play a bit more against someone, probably pretty decent if you're playing against some European competition. And they experimented a little while ago with pool play in one location. So it was travel to one place and you play over 4 days, 5 days, you play a quick round robin.
Yeah.
So this was sort of the post-COVID solution, which I actually quite like. It just takes up a big chunk of time in season.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, probably hard to manage that from clubs coming from different seasons. And like we've talked about, because these games take place midweek to navigate the regular club season, which is occurring on weekends.
It's a big difference for clubs once you're playing European games, and if you play longer into the European club season, you play a lot and you travel a lot. When I was in Friedrichshafen, we made quarterfinals of Champions League. We basically played every 4 days from, I think, November through till March.
Oh, that's brutal.
And with travel,
That's got to take a toll on the body.
Yeah, and
even for an assistant coach, a bit more sleep deprived, a bit more travel, jet lag, just 24/7.
Yeah. Well, in Germany, we do almost everything by bus. So, and Friedrichshafen is like the very south of Germany. Like it's next to a lake. The other side of the lake is Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And so we ended up, it was faster for us to travel to games in Poland because we could take a plane than it was to get to most of our games in Germany.
Oh, jeez. But the game we're going to talk about today specifically before we get into the rest of the CV stuff is Berlin Recycling versus SVG Lüneburg. Were you at the first game as well?
No, Lüneburg's about 3 hours away from here.
Oh, so the second one was at Berlin and you went to that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I got to see Berlin play against Marseille earlier in the season as well.
Yeah. And play against you 3 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've played against Berlin 2, 3, 4, could be 6+ games this season by the time we get to the end, because they'll probably be our quarterfinal matchup for playoffs.
Yeah, okay. So to set the stage for anyone listening, this is a playoff to get into the quarters, right, Alex?
Yeah.
So SVG, Lüneburg and Berlin, 2 Germany teams. They got to play each other, which I would argue is maybe it's a little disappointing because I think the whole idea of CV is you kind of want to see other leagues play against other countries' teams play against. You want to see Poland teams play against Germany teams. So, but
there's probably 2 perspectives to that because it could be that you want to see them play other people early stages, or it's they're fighting for the
same
German slot.
Yeah,
maybe
50-50 on that. But, so in what was quite a big upset because Berlin Recycling haven't been beaten by another Germany team in Sketch. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like. Well, I think the stat for Lüneburg was the last 11 matches Berlin had won. So I don't know what Berlin.
We are actually the last team to beat Berlin.
Really?
We beat them in a friendly game in pre-season.
Still counts.
Yeah.
The last game Berlin lost against the German team was in the finals last year.
Yeah. Okay. I know the 9x9 guys said that like genuinely being in that German league, there is a mental block to beating Berlin at the moment. So the fact that Lüneburg did it in CVs,
not in the German league, so
just not in the German, so it's still apparently present. But yeah, Lüneburg won in what was probably one of the most entertaining matches I think I've seen in a hot minute. 5-setter, and then
6-setter.
No, that was Series 1. This is the Series 2 game. Sorry. Another 5-setter, which we'll get into now. So, Sketch, you were there. Give us your opening thoughts of the whole match.
After set 1, it looked like it was going to be a short night.
Yeah, I saw exactly what I thought. Yeah.
It looked like Berlin were really switched on and had a good plan. But very similar to game 1, it was Lüneburg, and what they do well is they force teams to play their style of game. So they're not an exceptional reception team. They defend well. They're good in transition. So they're comfortable playing from high ball. They have some good, strong service as well. So they've got 4 guys who can bring some heat, and the other guys have really good control. They can serve tactically. I think the first game, the big thing was both teams were really ill. There's been a flu going around Germany. So for Berlin, we played them the weekend before the first game, and they were, the guys who were there were not healthy, and there was guys who weren't there because they weren't healthy enough to even get to the court.
Yeah.
And it was still similar midweek, and Lüneburg's similar as well. So it was a bit of, the first game, maybe it was just neither team could finish it because they were tired, but game 2 showed that, it really is a close matchup, and that mental benefit for Lüneburg of winning game 1 probably paid off in game 2, the belief that they can beat them.
Yeah. It was an interesting lineup for sure. Talking about roster differences, something that Alex and I noticed is that Tobias Crick was pretty much nowhere to be seen, and I feel like he's normally quite an integral part of that team.
At the start of the season, Toby was definitely one of the starters. I don't know how fit he is. So that's a bit of a question. But I think the thing is Nemo is good.
Yeah.
And Flo Krager, the younger German middle, he's really found good form in the latter part of the season. At the start of the season, it was okay. But he's put together a couple of months where he's probably been top 2, top 3 in terms of middles for the league. So it makes sense that he started. And Toby, I think has a real presence because he's massive.
Yeah.
I think maybe he might be the 4th out of the 4 middles for Berlin at the moment.
Yeah, wow. It just goes to show they've got a deep roster if you're talking about the infamous Crick talk not starting. But over on Lüneburg's side, this is why I really like European volleyball. And Alex, I've spoken to you off air about this quite a bit, but you look at this Lüneburg team, and this is how I felt when I first got into European volleyball, whereas like you see these teams that just figure it out and they don't have any like super recognizable VNL starters, but they just work so cohesively as a unit, or you'd have to assume that. I used to feel that way about Zaxa before any of theirs guys really started on their national teams. But
Yeah.
can you take us through this Lüneburg team a little bit? Like, I only really know Gage,
Who played amazing in the second game and really made the Berlin pass hitters not be able to hit cross court.
legitimately.
His defensive touches were incredible.
I actually don't really know anyone else on this team.
I think I might have sent you the stat sheet for the first game, which is maybe why some of the numbers look a bit funny. But
yeah.
like Gage, just like the Berlin pass hitters didn't really find a way to insert themselves into the game at all. It didn't really look like.
Gage just got everything.
Yeah, and or the Lüneburg block was pretty consistent versus the Berlin block. It looked very solid in those good moments, but then maybe a lot of blocking errors across time or negative blocks.
Well, the difference for position 4 guys from Berlin, Ruben Schott is the big out. He's the captain. He's been there for 6 years, something like this.
Yeah.
He's the glue guy.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have a lot of big games, but he's super stable on reception. He manages bad situations really well. He's a really effective server, good defender, smart blocker. Like, he's just good. He's not amazing at anything, but he's good at everything. He's not fit. So he obviously played a pretty limited role. I was surprised that he got front row at all.
Yeah.
And that they let him serve, which was just a little hop float.
I did
similar
see
speed
that.
to a Alex By spin serve. Told, so.
We laugh, but it's
Yeah.
true.
He wishes he could replicate that.
He's a big out for them. Simon Plasky did a fine job, but hasn't been put in that situation too much in this season. So maybe a little bit of rust. And Jan Fornal, who was a really important part of the Friedrichshafen team last season and moved to Berlin, hasn't played much at all. So they were really relying on Reichert to score some points, but was made to work pretty hard. But to come back to the Lüneburg roster, this is what they do. They're really good, and Stefan Hübner, their coach, and the staff that he has there, they find young American, Canadian guys and a few young German guys and invest in them and develop them, and they have a really clear idea of how they want to play. So athleticism is a big part of how they recruit. So they want guys who can jump and be high and be physical. And from their roster, so Xander Kaczynski was on the Canadian national team. He was in Paris for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there was no one in the last year who was in the national team as a real role. Simon Torve, the German middle, who played college in America. He'll probably be in the German squad this year. Michael Wright, the American setter, who's done a really, really good job. He, if he was maybe playing for another country, would be a lot closer to the national team picture. But he's got interest from some pretty good European teams for next season. Theo Mowinkel, young German guy, I think he's off to France for next season. Maybe I'm actually not supposed to say that, but he's announced he's leaving Lüneburg, but he hasn't said where.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
We can leak it on Volleybox.
Yeah, give it on the rumors box. That Zorwe, he's a middle, right?
He used to be an opposite, and when he was at college, they converted him to a middle.
He served the
So he's
ball.
a big lad, big frame, hits the ball pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his blocking, it looks like an opposite who's learning to play middle, but he's super physical.
Yeah. He served the ball 23 times and got 3 aces and killed the ball 14 times as a middle. It's pretty good.
Yeah. He has a lot of presence on the court.
Yeah. So how would you describe the Lüneburg play style? Like, I think from what I was looking at, and I think you said it before, it was just like, we're essentially going to bully teams and back our out-of-system play to force that easier ball back to us and then just run through whatever ball we want. Like, is that sort of the play style?
Yeah, it's changed previously. So when Jordan Ewart was there 2 seasons ago, everything focused around him and his skill set. So it was a lot of pipe, a lot of really fast flat ball to position 4 where he could jam and work on the block.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot more bend but don't break. Like their perfect reception numbers are not particularly high. They're comfortable playing from off the net. They're comfortable playing high balls. They've got Oscar Espeland, who's a Norwegian outside, he hits the ball really high. Like he hasn't got a big arm, but he's really high. So he forces teams to block and defend at the same time. Instead of, okay, we're going to block and then defend around it, he can play into spaces just by being so high.
Yeah.
And then Mowinckel is a reason why he's wanted by teams outside of Germany, maybe not in France, maybe somewhere else. Who knows? Maybe not me. He has really good composure in the game. Yeah. But they're not a great receiving side.
Well, only 30% excellent for this whole match. But in saying that, Berlin were only at 28. But how would you describe Berlin then? I would describe Berlin as they probably need to pass really well on serve reception to run through their middles and
to keep feeding Jake Haynes, make it a little less
obvious.
Jake Haynes dominant. Because he was very strong for portions of this game, but was he removed from it for sections where he just maybe in stadium he gets a little fiery, a little bit of net talk from him?
Yeah, a little bit.
He earned a yellow card.
It's the criticism of his game and it's probably the thing that he's actually made the most improvement on this season is the mental side. Yeah. So the knock on him in the past has been you can get under his skin, and once he loses it, it's really hard for him to be in the game. He loses control on the ball, just tries to hit everything as hard as he can, and puts stuff 7 or 8 meters out of court. But Joel Banks, the coach from Berlin, has done a really good job smoothing that out. So there's still some ups and downs, and he's an emotional player, and he sort of loves to turn and get chatting with the fans and get them fired up. But he's managed it a lot better this season than he has in the past.
Yeah, you get to hear a little bit from. I said I was a bit sad that the cameraman only ever went to the Berlin recycling huddle to catch a little bit of insight from what the coaches are saying. But Jake Haynes was being given free reign, which you're probably fine with because for the audience, he had a kill percentage of 58%, which is pretty good. Probably like high, but he also did hit 8 errors. So it was
66 balls total.
Yeah, 66 attacks total is
that's
a lot.
Wild volume.
But 8 errors, got blocked 4 times. So he's ending the point 12 times on him.
Yeah. The 2 blocks total as an opposite. Would that be low, Sketch?
Yeah. Over 6 sets, maybe.
Yeah. That's a lot.
I think both teams know that the block is going to be okay. So the message is to be working on the top of the block, that you're not trying to hit through or find seams or anything. It's okay, the block's going to be there. And this is the thing of high level volleyball is the space is rarely there to try and squeeze something through. So either there's space beside the block or someone's going to hit off the top. and that's the thing of high level volleyball. Is part of it is higher. These guys, you can just go up and get it, and they're working at the top of the block, not in this part of the block.
Yeah, or not even very rarely going off under, inside, air hand of the block because the defenders actually have good movement at high level volleyball.
Yeah.
So you're not beating the pass hitter and the libero off the inside edge. Like, you have to be playing high.
And sorry, go.
Sorry. Like there's a part in the game, if everyone gets a chance to watch it, where Haynes had been hitting a lot of ball on the line. And so Lüneburg opted to almost go for a split block where Espelin would go out to the antenna and Gage Worsley would come inside the court and defend the seam and try and force some hand control from Haynes. They tried that a couple of times. Worked once, but if he's scored 6-7 balls on the line, you have to try and change something. So.
Yeah.
When he got called for a carry, for a lift on his tip, and
he wasn't happy.
I remember thinking, I was like, oh, that's an edgy call, and then Lüneburg did the same thing.
Yeah.
5 points later, and that I think was what earned him that yellow.
Yeah. And
He got a little.
What do you mean? Tom Fornell would get away with that any day of the week.
Yeah. If he did two hands, he would have been okay with it. They would let it slide. If you get the second hand up and you just catch and throw, it's okay these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, in live speed, and I was sitting at the back of the court, not on the side. It didn't look like the worst one of the night.
Yeah, it was maybe a little sticky, but
let the boys play. It was such a good match. Let the boys play. I just noticed this. There, you got the two, Eric Shoji's obviously the top libero for the USA, but arguably these two other liberos in this match, so Gage Worsley and Kyle Degan, are probably the two next liberos to be under Eric, I feel like.
D'Agostino played a bit of VNL when last year when Eric Shoji wasn't there. And
when they had their training camp. Yeah.
He was really solid in that level. Like, he slots into teams probably pretty well.
Gage looked unreal this game though.
Kyle's been in and around the national team program for a while, so he did a lot of the age group stuff, and he does the Norseka tournaments and these kind of things. But so he's probably pretty close. Gage is a really good volleyball player, but it sounds mean, but it's not. But he's not an exceptional volleyball player in terms of his reception skills are solid, but he's not a really high level receiver. He's a really good defender. He's a great leader. He brings a huge amount to their team. Like, you'll notice in timeouts that he speaks a lot. He's a smart player. He understands what's going on in the court a lot. But I think that reception gap is probably the thing that puts Gage a little bit further down the pecking order. Yeah. And it frees up his time to go and play grass tournaments and do clinics in the summer as well, which I think is important for volleyball. The out-of-system guys do a great job.
You can't deny how much they've probably grown the sport in the last few years. That just speaks volumes at how good these guys are, but how elite national teams are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. USA Volleyball, do we see a bit of a different top national team over the next 4 years? Because a few of the players have said, on 9x9 or other places, that they might sit back because they have the automatic qualification for the next Olympics. Yeah, so true. Do you see a bit more rotation through qualification tournaments where you don't need to play Taylor Averill? You can run someone else through the middle. You can sit Eric Shoji
for a little bit. You could make the counter argument then of, do the guys need to be playing together regularly to be game ready by the time LA comes around? Yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Sketch? Do you reckon they need to be game ready? Or
not for 2 years.
True. 4 years.
Yeah, but 2 years of not doing anything and then they'll still do something. I know from a conversation that I had with someone who is involved, that with the new head coach, Coach Karai, he's
idea in the first probably 2 years of the program is to get a look at a bunch of different guys.
Yeah.
And then we know the known quantities with the team. DeFalco, Russell, Anderson, Christensen, Shoji, these guys, we know they're going to be in and around the mark, provided they're fit and healthy and they've played enough together. But I know there has to be some eye on what happens post LA as well. So if you look at what Japan did leading into Tokyo games, they know who the core of the squad is, but you can use that cycle as a free swing to try out guys and develop guys and look at what happens next.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that pressure of we need to peak early to qualify and then go again. So you can use almost all of those international games until you get into the last year, maybe 2 years to blood some young guys.
I love how off topic we get every episode.
Yeah, well, I just
what are we talking
hearing,
about?
Hopefully the audience likes hearing that higher level conversation, because to audience members, like, Olympics is a 4-year away thing that you might think about for the year before it. But national organisations are planning in 4-year cycles.
Yeah. Which is,
and if you look at Australia, we're 8 years away from needing a team that can be competitive in Brisbane.
Yeah. Planning in an 8 years.
And I remember hearing about the planning cycle 4 years ago, of 2032.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, if you look at 2032, it's the guys who were, after Tokyo, it's the guys who are, 16, 17 at that point in time who, they're our guys who are going to be the team in Brisbane, or will make up a big group of it. So we needed to start that process then.
Yeah, it's true.
I think I was at enough every junior camp. They go, you're going to be in the national team of 20 whenever, you've got to keep that in mind. I go, no.
Okay.
Not me, maybe Lorenzo Pope.
I think we were told 2028, my age group.
Yeah, they said it. They say every age group. They want.
Yeah.
We could make a comeback.
No, we can't.
More grass volleyball tournaments. It worked for the Worsleys.
Back on track, though. So any last thoughts about this Berlin match? We probably should say that Berlin won in 5, and then
it went to the golden set. There was 2 golden sets in this round. The other one was a bit more boring because it was just because
Leal decided to play.
Yeah.
This one though, 15-13 to Lüneburg. Yeah. So you say for the golden set?
Yeah. Well. I was going to be late home no matter what happened. So, it was really, it looked early on that Berlin was going to walk away with it.
Yeah.
Lüneburg did a great job of changing how the game was being played and forcing Berlin to play in their style. It looked like there was a little bit of a dip in confidence from some of the Berlin guys, which was rare to see. Normally they hang tough pretty well and believe that they're going to find a way. But Lüneburg kept chugging along and were competitive for the whole thing, and they were down. Like, they were down and came back in the 5th and in the golden set. So particularly the 5th, they had a shot to win it. After being down at the change, I don't know if the match report says it. Yeah,
you can do 5th set and golden.
Fifth
set and golden set stats.
Yeah.
They were down
5-1 and found a way back.
Down 12-9.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, maybe up 12.
I think at the change at 8 they were down 3 or 4 points, and had a shot to win that one, but Berlin, without shot, needed someone to step up. Reichert didn't get the job done, even though he's a very good player. It was from a someone who's going to be coaching against Berlin in a couple of weeks. It was a really interesting game to watch.
You reckon it's exposed some weaknesses that you intend to exploit, I guess?
That we could try to exploit, maybe.
Yeah. Key word there.
I think, like as Alex said, they did a really good job against their position 4 guys and made them work super hard. Haynes is Haynes, and he's going to score points, but you have to just try and manage a lot of the other situations, try and keep their middle out of the game. So it's it's not a matter of are you going to come out and smash them up. It's you just got to hang tough and hope that you get your shot. And Lüneburg have the service pressure, they have the physicality on block, they're a good enough defensive team. They hang in there, and when the moment comes, they're not afraid to go for it.
Well, I think what you mentioned as well is that they have tailored their game to the team that they have now. You said that they've changed their strategy a lot over the last couple of years, which is probably like you have to work that to your team. Coaches, like you always have what you want to play against every team, but you can't lose your own team's identity in that.
Absolutely.
We talk about that so much because like we talk about that in AVL where it's like, where is the line between us changing our play style to beat another team and us playing to our strengths? Like it's very blurred sometimes, I feel like.
I think it has to be you are using your systems against another team rather than changing your play style. So this is what we're going to do, and it has this amount of flexibility for our different opponents. Oh, sun's out. That's lovely. You're going to have the flexibility within your system, but it's going to be our system all the time. You can't practice those changes fast enough or efficiently enough to actually change what you're doing in a game.
Otherwise, you're changing your entire play style, which is just not going to be coherent every weekend you play a different team. Like,
and you can have a tactic, you can have a specific thing, and you can work on that, but you have to be yourself 98% of the time. Because you are who you are and you practice to be who you are. So you've got to dance with the one what brung you, and that's what you work on.
I'd love to hear their planning now, because moving on maybe to jump around the league. What's their planning now? Because I assume at this point you need to take it one match up at a time. Are they looking forward to just losing to Water next week?
You reckon they're going to get smoked, or I reckon they'll be,
because that is their matchup. Is another Australian, Luke Perry, over there. So that'll be a tough matchup.
What do you reckon about that?
I think Lüneburg will put up a good fight.
But ultimately,
Zavica are really good. Zavica are a fantastic team. They've got a lot of talent. Their coach is the coach of the German national team. He's a really good young coach. Everyone I've spoken to who's worked with him really like him, including the really high level guys. I think Lüneburg will compete hard, and they will try and again get the game on their terms. But Zavica are an excellent volleyball team,
and they are going right now. Like I'm looking at the Plus Liga ladder. They're sitting second. They've won most of their recent matches. I think the only match they've lost recently is to JSW, who are on top of the ladder.
We'll be probably playing that game still to be decided. The Olympiacos.
Nothing game. Nothing game.
Not much to watch.
No.
The other quarterfinal that'll be taking place is Vera Volley Monza versus Perugia.
That'll be no. That's sorry. I got confused. I was thinking that's Vera Volley, but that's not Vera Volley. That's
Vera Volley Monza.
That's the team that Sketch. You might know a little bit more about this than me, but they had Ivan Zaitsev for like 6 weeks, and then
and now he's gone to Turkey.
And then they also had Quantarena for like 3 weeks, and then he
hasn't been fit. Well, Monza have been saving their energy in the Italian league for Champions League, it seems. Because they've gone from being in the final in Italy last year and were a great team to watch with Lepke and Ma, the two Canadians.
That's right.
Really played a fun style to watch. They were, Lepke was playing mostly as an opposite receiver, sort of hybrid role. They had Adis Farts, the Canadian opposite, coming in and out of the game as they needed him. Ma was super dependable and gave them a real weapon from position 4. And they have Cachopa, the Brazilian setter.
Yeah.
That was super fun. They made the final, and then this year are terrible.
Well, this was what led us to the conversation of transfers, is like making it deep in your season going, we made Champions League and then losing all your players.
I don't know how much of that decision was budget and how much of that was guys had signed contracts already to go somewhere else. But they've had a big turnover and the chemistry doesn't look the same. The way that they play looks really different. And as you said, they haven't had the continuity with guys in the squad this season. So they're having a pretty rough Superliga season, but they're, technically one of the top 8 teams in Europe. They'll finish 5th probably after quarterfinals. But there's not a shortage of talent there, but it looks like the chemistry and the time together hasn't been there.
Hasn't been enough. Because I think they're fighting relegation in the Super League. They genuinely are in a bit of trouble.
Which is interesting to see how the different leagues are weighted. That they've obviously had a bit extra energy going into the CEV.
But they'll probably get rolled by Perugia. I'd imagine Perugia looking correct. Sketch, what do you reckon of this? Remember Perugia had that golden season and then they lost one game and then they didn't win a game for the rest of the season.
I was doing commentary on some of those.
They didn't do deja vu this year.
Yeah, you were saying, this is looking like that again because they had lost 3 in a row.
But they've pulled it back.
The message in that season was that the travel to World Club Championships in Brazil was too much and they never recovered from it.
Yeah.
That was the reason they gave.
Yeah, okay. Which is fair because that 3-week period is brutal from memory. And even this year, the only reason why I think Trentino went or Lube went, one of those teams went, was because they weren't playing in the Champions League. I think it was Trentino.
Yeah. If you add World Club Championships to the middle of what is a pretty busy season already, it's a huge amount of travel. If you could play every game at home, you could probably do it and it would be all right. Not easy, but all right. But the travel is a killer. And to even go beyond traveling in Europe to travel to Brazil, which is not the easiest place to get to. That's rough.
And then the last men's quarterfinal is Halkbank, who also had a golden set that they probably didn't need.
They literally just rolled over, and then Lial was like, all right, guys.
I'll do it. And they'll be playing Warszawa. So
do you reckon?
I think Warszaw's been looking pretty hot.
Yeah, they are. What do you think about this one, Sketch? I feel like Halkbank could do it if they decide to. I think that's probably the big thing.
I think they have the talent. They have enough ability. Warszawa is a very good Polish team, but not the best Polish team. I'd say that's probably going to be the closest to the quarterfinals.
That'll be the one I reckon I watch.
Yeah. So, there's enough talent on both sides of the court. I think Halkbank, it really is. Yeah. Do we, hang in there and let one guy take over? Whereas Warszawa, it's, they're a pretty strong team. They have a bit better depth. I don't want to say that Halkbank are not organised and disciplined, but so Halkbank played against one of the Czech teams, or the team that won the Czech championship last season in Česká Budějovice. And knowing what that team is like, I think Halkbank just have the weapons, but maybe not the top to bottom quality that you'll get from Warszawa.
Yeah. Warszawa sitting third, just behind Water, which is probably...
And we're going to work on these pronunciations, guys.
Sorry.
I know the Polish names are difficult, but
which one?
Zawiercie.
Zawiercie. I'll practice that in my free time.
And Jastrzębski, but Jastrzębia is what all the Polish people call JSW.
Okay.
Jastrzębia.
Yep.
They don't say JSW as well?
Not quite.
JSW.
That's really funny.
Jastrzębski Węgiel, which is the translation is Jastrzębia Coal, which is the coal mine in the town that they're from. It's a very small town, but has a long connection with Australian volleyball, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
So Igor Uden, Ben Hardy both played there. Mark Lebedeau's coached there. Luke Reynolds was coached there. We've trained there multiple times with national team.
Right.
So, and their scout assistant coach Bogdan Shebak has been the scout for the Australian national team before, and he is now the scout for the Slovenian national team. So,
right. I didn't realize we had that history there.
I thought you were about to say, I didn't realize we had scouts in Australia.
Also that I didn't realize until just then.
That's probably of anywhere in Europe other than maybe Berlin. That's probably the strongest connection with Australian volleyball.
Yeah.
Or if we want to talk about Linköping in Sweden, but that's it.
I was going to say a lot of the guys and girls do go to Sweden. But yeah, we can talk about that another.
And we're tangenting again.
Yeah.
What?
It's all your fault, Alex. Moving on to the women. I haven't caught that many of these purely because I saw the highlights on most of them and I was just like, they just don't look that interesting. A lot of them were just three dongs.
But now the quarterfinals has the same issue on the women's side that you've got your two Turkey teams playing
against each other.
Vakif Bunch and Fenerbahce.
Yeah. That will be a very fun match, I think, along with, you're going to have to help me with this Polish team. Developerez Warszawa? No. I tried my best.
No. Rzeszów.
Versus Caneliano. I think Caneliano will probably roll them, but I still think that will be an interesting matchup regardless.
Yeah, like the pick is clearly Fenerbahce Vakif Bank. Like that's two of the biggest teams in women's world volleyball.
Yeah.
Shashabasi versus Monza last season probably would have been a lot closer.
Yeah.
But I think the Turkish team will get up in that one. Knigliano, Rzeszów. I think the Polish league is not as strong on the women's side as the men's. So I think that one's pretty clear. And the same in the other quarterfinals, Skandici versus Łódź. Which is not bad, but the top Italian and Turkish women's teams are the best in the world. So
certainly looking at like a
Łódź is a tricky one. Łódź is a tricky one to pronounce. So it looks like Lodz.
Yeah.
But the L with the line through it is a W. There's an O with it, so it's Łódź.
You know who I learnt that from? Womack. That's how I learned that.
Womack.
Yes. The old Polish setter.
Yeah.
Who is playing for a Turkish team right now? I don't know which one. I think it's Vakif Bank. No, it's the blue and yellow one. Which one's that? I don't know. Anyways, tangent. Anyways, who do you reckon wins the Turkish matchup, the Vakif Bank and Fenerbahce?
Tough call. I would lean towards Vakitbank,
Yeah.
but I think it'll be pretty close. I haven't really seen any of the Turkish Women's League this season.
Well, we always talk about we can't really get access to it.
Okay, yeah. There's that random YouTube channel that
puts it up
broadcasts
randomly.
occasionally. Yeah, I've watched it because Sarah Ganesh is there, and she posts it quite a bit, and also the Canadian opposite. What's her name?
Van Rijk.
Sorry,
Van Rijk.
yeah, Kira Van Rijk. Kira Van Rijk. Yeah, no, Isabel Hart
it's in
is
Italy. She's in
Caneliano.
yeah,
Swedish.
Sorry.
She's Swedish, yeah. She's also a monster. Watching her in the Italian Cup. Yeah.
There's a clip of her playing in Sweden when she's like 15 or 16 or something, and they set a ball and it drops short. She's hitting from 2, I'm pretty sure. And she just goes, "Wah!" and just destroys it. You're like, oh, okay, that's different.
Because she is straight up just tearing up Caneliano is a terrifyingly good team, but she's destroying. All right, we're going to hear from our sponsor.
This episode is proudly sponsored by the Melbourne University Renegades Volleyball Club, a club we've been a part of for many years.
Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned player, Renegades offers something for everyone.
With programs ranging from Tin Alley Social Competition, which features graded social games, to mixed social training, junior development, or state league teams across all divisions, there's a place for you to grow and compete.
Explore what's available for you, whether it's during the off-season, pre-season, or in-season at members.renegades.com.au. And we're back. If you want to be a part of Q&A, join the Discord. We keep saying that and we haven't done Q&A, but we're doing Q&A this time. I put it out to Discord. I picked the 3 best questions that I thought for the week, and we'll get the others cycling through. But we're going to start with a bit of a fun one, and we're all going to go around and answer it. If we could play pro anywhere in the world, where and why? Sketch, I reckon we'll start with you because you've actually got the most knowledge and experience, and maybe Alex and I could get our answers right.
I'm going to qualify my answer with there's being on a roster and there's playing. There's different things.
We can give 2 answers.
I was literally thinking in my head, where do I want to sit on the bench?
Yeah.
Where do I want to be a ball boy?
Yeah, I know I'm not going to be a starter anywhere. I might be, we need a body.
I could be second libero to Luke Perry. The national team did that a couple of times. They rotated the second libero spot.
I'm a great third libero.
Yeah.
I think Italy, in terms of the volleyball and the lifestyle, is great. I think Milan would be a really wonderful place to play. It's a beautiful city. The food is good. The weather's usually pretty nice. You get to play against good teams. They have a great arena. That would be pretty cool. But like Poland they're diehards in Poland. Like it's pressure. It's probably similar to AFL in Melbourne. Like if you are playing Plus Liga, people know who you are. They have opinions. They want to tell you their opinions. But also Poland in winter is not as friendly in terms of the weather. I would say, if I had to play, Modena is also pretty nice. Somewhere in the north of Italy, I think, is probably my number 1 choice.
Yeah, okay. Go on, Alex.
Am I going next?
Yeah, you go next.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uni National.
Western Sydney.
Western Sydney Uni Nationals. No, I was thinking in my head.
I didn't know that was an option, or I would have chosen that.
We all choose that.
I'm putting the call out. I'm looking for a new co-host.
I was actually thinking in my head. What I actually thought in my head was like, can I sit on the bench of
like a Perugia?
Of like Hawaii college volleyball. Just
go Long Beach.
Long Beach. Yeah. Just watch some of that
Go
Just sit on some college volleyball benches this year.
go sit
Have you seen the Pepperdine campus and where that is?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's wild, hey.
Those
Yeah.
stadiums and
Massive.
money behind some of those programs is incredible. But
So you'd
I
go to
guess it finally goes to the athletes now a little bit, not to the international ones.
No. So you'd go to the USA.
I was thinking that, but I was like, oh, no, that sucks. Because like in my head still from being like a junior, you always just think like Poland, the league. And it's like you get people telling stories of like playing over there is just
The golden
what it
standard.
feels like to be like a professional
Yeah.
sports player. So it's probably that still in my head as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree. Mine's a bit more of an analytical side of why I would go there. I think a lot of players go to Poland and get really good and then end up in Italy.
Yeah.
Some do the other way around, like TJ did the other way around, but some go the other way. So I also am, the last few years, thinking I would like to give Japan a go.
Yeah.
Japan would be kind of cool.
I thought about that
That's
just
cool.
as a nice place to live.
Also that, like,
Yeah.
as a...
And the Japanese league is getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah. 44 games sounds like a lot though. But
But if you factor in any top league, and if you're playing European competition, you're playing that many games anyway.
Yeah.
It's
And I
just that
thought
they
we were-
don't play Champions League, CV Cup, or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
they
thought
take
in our
care of you.
hypothetical we were on the bench still.
So we're not playing, yeah. All right, I like that one. Sketch, this is more for you, but Alex and I can give our opinions of this. Gus has done this once with us for a season, and I remember hating it. I think you hated it too. Just because it probably was new and we were like a bit confused, and then we got
I
into
think it was at a funny stage of the team where it was
We
like,
had
we'll
too
try
many
this because it's not
middle.
working. We have a lot of middle. And then
Yeah,
it was
so
like,
the standard row of volleyball is where outside follows setter, right? But that's the most common. There is one that is not as common, but still common enough that you can spot it every now and again. Even in higher levels, occasionally I've seen it. Rarely, but occasionally, where middle follows setter. The question is, why would you do that?
Well, I don't know of a good reason.
I thought about this all weekend, and I can think of one reason is that you can play with your offense a bit more, but the cons attached to it is so much against your serve reception.
Yes.
Super
So
hard.
it's the thing of European style volleyball, and also a bit sort of what happened in the US national team in the mid '80s. Brazil as well around that time. It's sort of they figured out that it's better that we can play fast and have control on side out, and we can create more good situations that way instead of running people around so much. So yeah, and the libero obviously changed. The introduction of libero changed how much you can move stuff. But you look at the best teams in the world, it's side out is critical, and then can you serve strong enough to make it tough on the other team? So
Yeah, but I remember when we did this system, our reasoning was we had a few guys who could play middle and pass hit. I guess the new modern version of this is actually what Trentino did a couple of years ago, where it was a 3 utility system, whereas they used 3 pass hitters, but you can do it with 3 middles / opposites. So I've seen that. Yeah, good.
but then it becomes a personnel decision. It's as we've discussed previously, like with the Turkish women's team. How do their 2 best players are Karakurt and Vargas, but they play the same spot. And and we talked about the Fenerbahce women, where they're Stisiak and Vargas. So it seems to follow her around a little bit. That they need to be able to find a way to get the talent onto the court, because they're paying that talent a lot of money. But the Turkish women's team tried it with Karakurt as a receiver. It's okay, but then you decrease the impact that your middles can have on the game on offense, because the reception quality will drop off a little bit. And it's a talent thing. How the US men have done it, sort of the other side, in that they don't really have an opposite.
Yeah, they just have another pass hitter.
Yeah.
So they play with Matt Anderson mostly as sort of a hybrid role. DeFalco can play there in a pinch, but their solution is the other side of that. So, like your and national teams are different because you've got the guys that you've got. Club teams, you have the flexibility of roster building to make decisions
Don't
which
put
way you
yourself
go.
in that position if you don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, which we still see.
Yeah, that still happens. But it's a solution to getting talent on the court. I think is probably the only way. But then you would have to have built your team that way if you're a club coach.
Sorry, tangent. Small tangent, I swear. In specific, that Turkish women's team, it's very applicable to me right now, having done so much research into coaching women's volleyball at a high level, having now I'm a Premier 1 coach. Noticing the trade-off of...
He just dropped that just very... now that I'm
just
Premier 1 coach.
Context, guys. Come on,
Liam,
please.
you're allowed to drop that you coach.
Yeah.
You coach Div 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I did coach Div 2, and I don't think we made playoffs. So,
I'm gonna bleep that out, and everyone will be like, "What's going on?" Anyways, so I was literally thinking about this very topic of the trade-off because Turkey have good middles. Like I would say they have two of the most dynamic middles in women's volleyball. Maybe before when Ganesh got injured, she hasn't been as good now, but before then she was really good.
She's still big.
Yeah, she's massive. So like not having that pass is probably really detrimental, even though you've got two cannons of outsides in Karaka and Vargas. It's like that huge trade-off. Interesting topic. All right, I rest my case. Last question, and this is probably the most loaded, but we can all think of our own quick answers, I guess. What makes a good volleyball player? Spicy one, I know.
Do we start a second episode for the answer? Or
are you?
There's many different things. You can be a very good physical volleyball player, so jump high, hit the ball hard, this stuff. You can be a really good technical volleyball player in that you can make the ball do the things that you want it to do. But the best of the best is a combination of those two things and reading the game. The time that you find is not because you move faster. The time is because you see it earlier. You can make those decisions better or make those decisions earlier than other people. So when you combine physicality, when you combine technical ability and combine having a really good read of the game. So that's why Jiba was such a good player for such a long time. He's not super big, really good athlete, really good technician, and just always seemed to know what was happening next. That's a really good volleyball player.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Actually, it wasn't such a long answer.
Well, you took all the answers. You said all
You
three.
said everything. Yeah, you must be everything.
What makes a good volleyball player is be good at volleyball. That's my answer.
Fair.
Thank you.
No, I was going to say like game sense, ball tracking, sort of that is something that I track. This is actually going to be the first podcast that we've done while I'm about to coach juniors, and I know a couple of them will listen to this. So one of them at the trials had very good ball sense. Our Prem Libero came and he said, I really like that guy. Just watch how he follows it with his eyes. And that is something that I think is particularly difficult for juniors to have, just with the lack of exposure to the game. Yeah. So it is just something that's amazing to see there. And it's just like that's something you want to build and work from, and trying to have that. And then game sense of knowing the period of the game that you're in, I think, knowing how other players are playing on your team, what is needed from you in moments. Often people just pin that on the setter. Oh, the setter needs to know who's hot at the moment, who's been moving well, who on the other team is doing bad. But I really reckon every position needs to have more awareness of the other positions and what
Luke
other
Perry
players
is
are doing.
incredible at this.
Just look at that.
It's one of the things that make him one of the best in the world is not just his technical ability, his understanding of the game, his awareness of what's happening in the game in the moment. and with different guys on both sides of the net is incredible.
We'll just look at that viral clip of literally him and Aaron Russell running a out of system behind pipe the other day. I don't know if you've seen that going around, but that was outrageously good.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that you see that you go, wow. So one of my responsibilities when I was working with the national team was I was more or less responsible for tracking the serve of the opponent. And with Pez, he already knew. He knew what was happening next. He knew what the next guy wanted to do. He was working 3 servers ahead of everyone else. And thinking about, I need to help this receiver, or we need to make this adjustment, or I need to make sure this guy is feeling good. And his brain for the game is amazing. And this is a common theme amongst really good players and guys who can be long-term pros, is they just understand what's happening. Maybe their idea is different to some other people's, but they have a thought about what's happening on the court and what someone's trying to do, and what that guy has a short angle diagonal, so I need to defend this. So this guy's going to play off hand, so I need to position myself here. And it's the best guys are the guys who have this feeling for the game or understanding of the game.
Yeah, like a lot of people pin it to like, oh, he watches the arm swing. No, the best people can watch it from transition. Yeah, they watch it from even earlier if you can. Like, oh, this situation when the pass is over here, the guy transitions like this. You can then see it from there. You don't, rather than just catching it when it's coming out of their arm swing. Yeah, there's so many ways to, like, even just the other day, I heard an interview with John Cook, the Nebraska head coach, and he was saying, like, you know, their levels are quite a bit lower than professional. Still pretty close though, actually, if you've watched those girls play. A lot of it is the location of the set as well. Like, you know, sometimes you set so fast that set will only let you hit one way. And yeah. And that's one of the big differences between men's and women's volleyball. Like high level women's games are really good because generally the style is to be a lot faster. And relying on precision, but it means that everything has to be in sync. Men's, I think there's a lot more high ball play. There's a lot more, okay, we can recycle and then work our way. Just the physicality. There's more players with the physicality in men's than women's. In women's, it's not easier, but you can have a bigger impact by having a 2-meter bomber than in men's. You know, the translation makes, you know, the 2-meter 10 something kind of guy in men's. But the impact that having a really physical player in the women's side of the game is different. It's easier. There's more men who play physical, but the women's side, the technical level, the precision, the speed, I think at the top level is great to watch. It's really, really good. Like we're talking about Champions League, we're talking about World Club Champs, any of this stuff, like you watch these games, it's really good volleyball. It's different to watching a high level men's volleyball generally, but different is not bad. Different is different. That is the one thing I've noticed just by watching a heap of it recently, is they are just straight up different. They are different styles of play. Like, you start asking yourself questions, why don't men run slides? It's just different. It's not necessarily maybe that they wouldn't work on the men's, but it's a different style of game. What's the physicality? Like, and also the block is bigger, the time it takes to move for the slide. It is. So I know men's teams have tried it, and if you have a big blocker in 4, they have too much time to get there. Well, my answer, seeing as you guys took all the answers possible, I think. That's why I got him first. Yeah. I don't know why. Going last in Slay and Shame is great. I get time to think. Going last in answer is really bad. I'll just simply say, I think what makes a really good, and this is more or less what you said about Luke Perry, is being a good teammate, I think goes a bit further than what people realize. Like the difference between a team that's full of talent and athleticism versus a team that's maybe not as talented, not as athletic, but has excellent chemistry and vibe and team chemistry, and they're a well-oiled machine. I think people
tend to underestimate that a little bit. Getting 6 of those is probably hard though. But that's what it is.
Yeah. To a point.
Yeah.
Like there's top level teams who don't speak to each other outside of the court. Not often, but
It happens.
There's people there who are like, I'm here to do my job because my job pays me well, and your job is to do your job really well. And if you're not doing that, I'm going to tell you about it. There are teams like this. Monza, the men's Monza team last year, you could feel like there was really good chemistry in the group. It does matter.
Yeah.
Like bad chemistry also matters. Like if guys are fighting all the time, it's super mentally draining, and then the energy to fight in the games is a little bit less.
Yeah.
Chemistry, but like we talked about, this is a roster building thing.
Yeah.
Like the best players and the right players are not always the same.
Yeah. And well, that's just the game that we play really, is the whole roster building, the whole thing, the whole team sport. That's all we got for today.
That brings us to the end of the ep.
Yeah. It's always a bit of a long one. We've got to stop saying that and just cop there that there's going to be an hour.
Every now and
Standard
again,
length.
you know?
Yeah. Cut it down.
But thanks for coming back, joining us again.
On such a pinch as
A
well.
highly requested guest to talk about something we didn't talk about today, though. There was a few comments on the Instagram. I don't know if you saw on our Instagram to talk about your Div 2 Cobra's coaching time. So that'll have to be the deep dive next time.
Yes, it will have to be.
Yeah, I'll have to get my archives sorted out for that.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks again, Sketch, for coming on.
My pleasure.
You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, and Spotify. Any and all links will be in the description of the episode. Thanks.